You know, some stories are so good they last for thousands of years. And today, we're going to dive into one of the best. We're talking about the Great Race, the absolutely wild, clever, and sometimes ruthless origin story of the Chinese Zodiac.
So, let me ask you this. How in the world does a tiny little rat beat a massive, powerful dragon in a race? I mean, a dragon can fly. It sounds impossible, right? Well, that's the central mystery of one of the greatest stories ever told, the Great Race.
All right, so let's set the stage. Up in the heavens, you've got the Jade Emperor. He's looking down at humanity and thinking, you know, these guys need a way to keep track of time. So what does he do? He comes up with this brilliant idea, a massive cross-country race. The first 12 animals to make it across a giant river get a year named after them. Simple as that. The prize? Immortality in the calendar.
Okay, so the rat. This is where it gets good. The rat is smart. It knows it's not the best swimmer, not by a long shot. So what does it do? It spots the ox, who's strong and super kind-hearted, and says, "Hey buddy, mind if I hitch a ride?" The ox, being a good guy, agrees. But, and this is the killer move, right as the ox is about to cross the finish line, the rat just leaps off its head and snags first place. Boom! Just like that, we have our first two winners, the super clever rat and the dependable, maybe slightly tricked ox.
After that bit of drama, the next few animals start rolling in, and everyone's got their own style. You've got the tiger, just pure power, battling the currents to take third. Then comes the rabbit, who's way more agile, hopping from stone to stone and then, gets a little lucky, catches a ride on a log to finish fourth. Now the dragon. This is a great part of the story. The dragon could have easily won. I mean, it flies. But it gets delayed because it stops to help out a village that needed rain. A real hero, right? So it comes in fifth. And then, you won't believe this, right at the finish line, the horse is about to take sixth place when, out of nowhere, the snake, who'd been hiding on its hoof the whole time, darts out and steals the spot. Poor horse gets seventh.
So far, it's been all about individual strength or sneaky plans. But the next group, totally different story. The goat, the monkey, and the rooster, they decided to team up. They found a raft and worked together, paddling across the river as a single unit. It's a great lesson, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. They all crossed together, taking 8th, 9th, and 10th place. Now for the last two spots, and honestly, these might be the most relatable animals in the entire race. First up, the dog. The dog's a fantastic swimmer, should have placed higher, but it got distracted. The river water felt so good, it just started playing around. We've all been there, right? So the dog comes in at a respectable 11th. And finally, rounding out our top 12 is the pig. The pig's excuse? He got hungry, stopped for a big meal, and then fell asleep. I mean, who can blame it? A true icon. The pig cruises in at 12th place, securing the final spot in the Zodiac.
So there you have it, our 12 winners. The Zodiac is officially set. Or is it? You see, this story isn't just about who won. It's also about who lost. And there's one very famous loser whose story might be the most important of all.
And that loser, of course, is the cat. So why isn't the cat in the Zodiac? Well, the legends give us a couple of juicy stories, and they both point the finger at one culprit, the rat. In one version, the cat and rat are friends, and the rat promises to wake the cat up for the race, but forgets. Ouch. The other version is even more dramatic. They're both riding on the ox, and the rat just shoves the cat into the river. Cold-blooded. Either way, the cat misses the race, and that, my friends, is why cats have hated rats ever since. At least, that's what the story says.
But hold on, the story is not over for the cat. Here's a really cool twist. In the Chinese Zodiac, no spot for the cat. But if you look at the Vietnamese Zodiac, there it is. The cat takes the place of the rabbit. How cool is that? The reason is probably a linguistic mix-up. The old word for rabbit, mao, sounds super similar to the Vietnamese word for cat, meow. So through a little twist of fate and language, the cat finally gets its well-deserved place in the sky. Okay, so the Great Race is an incredible story, right? But it's just that, a story, a fantastic myth created to explain something much more scientific and ancient. So now, let's pull back the curtain and look at the real history and astronomy behind the Zodiac.
So the real secret behind the 12-year cycle isn't a race at all. It's a planet, Jupiter, to be exact. Ancient Chinese astronomers were brilliant observers, and they called Jupiter Sui Sing, which means the year star. Why? Because they figured out it takes just about 12 years for Jupiter to circle the sun. So they divided the sky into 12 parts, one for each year of Jupiter's journey. The animals, they were basically a brilliant mnemonic device, a super memorable way for everyday people to keep track of the 12-year cycle.
But why these 12 specific animals? A rat, an ox, a tiger? It might seem random, but it's not. There was a very clear logic to it. The choices were split into two groups. You have the 6 most important domestic animals, the ones crucial for farming and daily life, like the ox, horse, and pig. And then you have 6 wild animals that were a huge part of folklore and culture, like the tiger, dragon, and monkey. It was a perfect blend of the practical and the mythical.
Which brings us back to our friend, the cat. We have the myth about the rat's betrayal, but what's the real historical reason it's not in the zodiac? Well, it's actually pretty simple. The zodiac, with its 12 animals, was locked in, totally established, during the Han Dynasty. Here's the thing. Domestic cats weren't even in China yet. They were introduced much later, coming from India along the Silk Road. So by the time cats became common and beloved pets, all 12 spots on the calendar were already taken. The cat was just too late to the party. A classic case of bad timing.
So you can see how this system is way more than just a list of animals. And to really get a feel for how deep it goes, I want to do a little deep dive into one sign in particular, the dog, the 11th place finisher. Because its story really shows off all the amazing layers of personality the zodiac has.
I love this description, one of the most beloved yet tragically relatable positions in the zodiac. It just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? The dog represents loyalty and doing the right thing, but its story in the race, that's all about that classic battle between what you should do and what you want to do. It was a great swimmer that should have finished way earlier, but hey, the water was fun. It's just so human.
And that duality is right at the core of the dog's personality. Think of it like 2 sides of the same coin. On one side, you got the loyal guardian. This is the dog that is fiercely honest, incredibly protective, and will always speak up against injustice. But flip that coin, and that same protective nature can turn into the anxious watchdog. This side can be a little pessimistic, worries a lot, and if you break their trust, they can become really stubborn and critical.
And if you thought that was detailed, it gets even deeper. The system combines the 12 animals with 5 elements: water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. This creates a full 60-year cycle. So you're not just a dog. Your birth year gives you an element that adds a whole other layer. For example, a water dog born in 1982 is seen as more flexible and intuitive. But a fire dog from 2006, much more adventurous and fiery. It adds this amazing, unique flavor to each sign.
So, what about the dog's social circle? Who's in its pack? Well, its best friends are definitely the tiger and the horse. The 3 of them together create what's called a triple harmony. You've got courage from the tiger, speed from the horse, and loyalty from the dog. I mean, that's an unbeatable team right there. But on the flip side, there's always a rival. For the dog, it's the dragon. It kind of makes sense, right? The dog's down-to-earth, justice-focused vibe can really clash with the dragon's, well, flashy and powerful ego.
When you really look at it, the zodiac is so much more than just a fun story about a race. It's this incredibly rich system of personalities, relationships, and even cosmic forces that has captured our imagination for centuries. The story tells us the humble dog and the proud dragon might not see eye to eye. So it makes you wonder, what does your sign say about you?